Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Pep Talks in the morning. It is Tuesday, the 5th of May. My name is Felicia Holder, Chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party, and your host for Pep Talks in the morning. Joining me as a co host this morning is PEP Deputy Political Leader Anthony Dufour. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Felicia. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Peppers. Wonderful day today. Nice weather. How is everyone?
It is a wonderful day today. When I woke up this morning, I thought I heard some thunder rolling because it's been a while since I got some rain during the day. Because of that, I can't nap anymore because it's so hot. But unfortunately, it was not thunder rolling. Maybe it was a dog barking or something. I don't know. But I'm looking outside and it's nice and sunny and breezy. So my hopes of getting rain today might be slim to none, unfortunately. Anyway, how are you doing, Mr. Anthony Defour?
Well, I can't try not to complain. That's the most I could see. Just seeing the environment around and, just what everybody's going through. It's hard. It's hard just to simply sit by and watch and know that your hands tied and there's only so much that you can do. Um, it's been a tough couple of weeks, especially after seeing what we've seen going into those different constituencies and stuff with our hamper program. Um, it's really unreal, boys. It's nothing to laugh about. It's nothing to smile about. And what is even more baffling to know that people who are supposed to be in a position to really help the situation is as if they are lost and they have no idea as to exactly what's going on the ground. And that right there bothers me a whole lot. It concerns me a whole lot because it shows that the system is inefficient. It's not working properly, and it's not getting to the people who really need the help desperately. We keep saying anyway, I ain't wanna start my rant early, so early. We don't start.
Listen, people have come to know in the days that you and I have a show that it is a balance of calm and rant. And I think that that dynamic works perfectly. So you do you do. I think we have so much to discuss today. If you don't rant, I would be very surprised actually. Um, Please, to those viewing, take the time right now to click share to your groups, to your Facebook, to your WhatsApp newsfeed. The chickens on my end and Anthony's end are going to be competing today for your attention. But please try as much as possible to focus on us and what we're saying because we do have a lot, like I said, a lot to discuss. Anthony, you said, and you were a part of this, that hamper distribution that we did. You did it within your constituency. And I know you would have been experiencing firsthand just how dire the need is right now up on your
Yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah. It's not nice. And a lot of the issues that a lot of the citizens are dealing with is, the prime minister mentioned they are presenting a grant for people in need. Now, you have a large portion of people that is in different communities simply going to their welfare office or what have you, and attempting to acquire the grant. And they're not. They're being turned away. They're being they're being told that they don't qualify. I mean, look, we know we've had a broken system, a broken state. The systems within the state did not work. This is before this whole COVID-19 business. What the COVID-19 truly has done at this point and juncture is expose all of this. It has exposed all of the holes in the system, the inefficiencies in the system. Because again, if you're telling me you have people in society that don't pay their taxes or don't pay NIS or what have you, or you have employers that aren't um, identifying their employees where the company itself that they're working for is not paying NIS or what have you. The point is that we know there are systematic problems across the board in Trinidad and Tobago affairs, primarily within the public sector, and those systems. You have families that are going home without food, without cash. What are these people supposed to do? And we were able to see firsthand, giving out the few hampers that we did have and was able to acquire for ourselves. I mean, really and truly, it hurt me to see Sunday gone. We was it Sunday or Saturday, boy? We went up to
Saturday.
the North Coast, right? We went up to the North Coast and distributed some hampers up there. We had to see families be turned away without anything, and us not being in a position to do anything to help these people, boy. And that really, really, really bothered me. I mean, I was not in a good state of mind, because you know into yourself that parents, in most cases, single parent environment, having 2 and 3 children, crying, the hungry, mommy are hungry. And there's no one that is in a position or a place in order to help these people, at least within their own communities, because everybody in the community really catching the tail too. And the 1 or 2 people that might be in an okay position, you don't expect that these people are going to now lift this community themselves as far as financing help in these communities. I mean, everybody tighten the belt at this point, because it's not segregated to any one group of people. It's something that everyone on planet Earth has had to deal with. And we are just, in my mind, being extremely ignorant to the fact that we are in a position now we cannot look outside for any kind of help whatsoever at this point in time in our juncture. And this is a perfect example and test for us to see where our inefficiencies are as a nation and do what is necessary to redevelop the country to safeguard the citizens in a situation like this once again if it was posed to us anytime in the future, whether it be in the near, middle, or far future. The point is being proactive enough and foreseeing a situation similar to this, if not worse, in different categories and in different scenarios, and cater a proposal and policy moving the country forward that can safeguard the citizens from this said situation that we are in. Again, we keep saying we have to be shamed to talk about this only $6 billion in that Heritage and Stabilization Fund to date after all the money passing through Trinidad and Tobago. That is supposed to be a top priority in trying to ensure we can not only lower our debt, but raise our GDP where we can now insert more monies in a greater scale within that same Heritage and Stabilization Fund to ensure a situation like this comes about later on in the future. We are prepared to shut the country down for the year if we had to, and still be able to pay everybody on the island, the entire population, a stipend, a grant, whether it be 2,000, 4,000, whatever, for an entire year, and just have a level of proper control instead of having to always talk about you're complaining about this, you're complaining about that. We don't have the money here. This one thief money, that one hemorrhage economy, and everybody blaming everybody else. But at the end of the day, it's still the people holding the shitty end of the stick. And we as a people have to realize that we cannot continue doing the same thing that has not bear any positive results for us as a population. We're doing this too many times. The 11 administrations passing through that parliament, and to date, we still is not a first world nation. We still don't have hope and opportunity. We money still don't have no type of value in it. We have crime spiraling out of control. Education gone like is a mad scene where that is. What just happened there? Anyway,
I
but the
think
point of the matter is, a little glitch there. But the point of the matter is that we we are able right now in Trinidad and Tobago's history to be able to identify every single problem we are dealing with as a nation. We are able to identify that. And the point of the matter is, why are we not addressing it head on? Why? We are always waiting for the last second, the last hour, the last minute before we try to take action towards things that we were able to foresee decades before. But we still choose to be on the road that we're on and ensure that we have no accountability, we have no transparency, we have no responsibility for nobody's portfolio or office. You have a state that basically doing what the heck they want to do and is not answering to anyone. And again, who is the ones feeling the brunt? Every single time, the people. Every single time, the people. 2019,
It is
how
always,
much jobs we lost in Trinidad and
always the
Tobago?
people.
How much jobs we lost before COVID-19? How many jobs we lost? We had Petrotrin closed down. We had some steel company closed down. We've had several industries, major industries having a large employee base that had to close their doors in 2019. What was done by the state or by any NGO or anybody for that matter to try to safeguard the population that had lost their jobs, that did not have any type of spending power, no kind of money in the pocket? I mean, you have people with all kind of degrees and not able to get jobs. Why? Because they're overqualified. We don't have job placement for any type of major skill sets on the island. Why? Because everything is withering away and nobody is taking a retooling factor as to how Trinidad should now put certain things in place for further development. If we have found ourselves being in limbo for the last, what, 40 years, the last 4 decades, because we have had no real development in that period of time, you can't say that a damn flyover is development. Be real. You can say two skyscraper you put in Port of Spain. That is a Mickey Mouse skyscraper. That is development. Be real. When your people in your pocket, in the pocket, as a citizenry in a nation, able to go and buy whatever they want to buy without even thinking twice or looking in the wallet properly. The children ask for anything, they're able to dip in the pocket and handle that for the children. Why? Because we have spending power. Why? Because we have proper paying jobs and people have a level of hope and opportunity. We proud as to be Trinidadian and Tobagonian. That is where we were supposed to be. And it wasn't no rocket science. It wasn't so hard for we to reach there. We had many opportunities in order to present that to the population and to have Trinidad as a first world nation today with about 600 billion US dollars in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. But to date, what we could do is complain we ain't have, we could have do this, we could have do that, we could have do the other. Well, listen, look, we talking now, we having solutions, we having policies and proposals. The point is the time is now. The time is now. No other time better than now. It's that simple. We know exactly what we do wrong and the missteps that has been taken by past administrations. The point is, we as the people had to realize that we vote in UNC, we still dealing the same stupidness out on the ground. We vote in PNM, we dealing with the same stupidness on the ground. What we saying? What we doing? What we really doing? If you don't know anything or anybody else, then pull your whole damn constituency together and only find somebody that you feel comfortable enough that has a good enough stature within your constituency and say, okay, I elect this man to speak in the House of Representatives for us in this constituency. And this is what the Progressive Empowerment Party is presenting to the population right now. Right now. Because we ain't telling you that we're doing things pie in the sky business and can't explain how we are able to do that for you. You are not able to understand or know what is the true benefit for you. Each one of our policies indicates straight down to the citizen what is the benefit for them. That simple. Even our policies that you're talking about, that we are catering for the same corporate sector. People I have here, my business peers telling me, oh, they find that that PEP does attack the 1%ers and the corporate sector. And I say, listen, hold on, partner. Let me tell you this. We ain't attacking the corporate sector as a whole. We are saying there are certain entities and individuals within that sphere that we would like to put some scrutiny on because there are some questions to be answered. That's what we are saying. But the Progressive Empowerment Party have policies in place right now that caters to the said business community and corporate sector. Because we are not in the business to try to close down anything or to make anything crash and burn. We want development is what we want. We want development and even playing field across the board for the small businessman, medium-sized businessman, and the corporate sector businessman. It's that simple.
I will I will interject here because I feel like I made a mistake when I tell you rant on because I mean I could probably give it the whole show to do this, but no, you touch on some very salient points. And I feel like you would have summarized the show that we had in its entirety yesterday, and some of the shows we've been having very recently, which is pointing out a lot of the inadequacies and inefficiencies in the systems that we have set up here right now. Because, like you say, when you drill down to everything, Anthony, you would discover that it is poorly set up systems, mismanaged systems, systems that are deliberately set up to fail, to accommodate theft and corruption and all of the banditry that we have come to be known to be associated with politics as it currently is right now in Trinidad. And we now, like you said, reaping the benefit, well, reaping the fruits of everything that we would have planted in the past couple of years. We now in a situation where the systems, the said systems that we need, they're being revealed to be broken. They're being revealed to be failed systems. And like you said, it's the people who's suffering, the people on the ground. When Clarence Rambarath, and I did a post on this yesterday, when he said that there's no evidence of severe hunger in Trinidad and Tobago, I wanted to know, maybe he's from a different country. Maybe he, in his constituency, everything is fine. Maybe his number is not out to the public to call, because I have had to turn away and turn down single mothers. A woman messaged me yesterday. She said, it took all of her pride to come out and ask me, but she says, not for me, it's for my children. And even then, Anthony, even then, I still was not able to assist. Thankfully, somebody gave a donation. So I want to reach out to that particular lady and help her. But the sad truth is, there are many other ladies like her. She's not the only one in this situation right now. And I want to move into the first topic of the day, because it does deal with all of the, well, it does deal with the grants and the relief that is supposed to be given to citizens. However, this one came out of left field, like several of the decisions that I have heard in the past couple of weeks that have just happened overnight, and you never hear about it until it's actually done. And when I say this one came like a thief in the night, it's because the checks were cut, deals were made, people collect their money already. And this is the $10 million a month that has been allocated to faith-based organizations to distribute to people within their community. Now, I went on last night. I couldn't sleep. I was up very late until 3 a.m. actually, and I went online searching and Googling to see, is there any other country that is dealing with COVID-19 relief through churches? Is there any other country that is taking taxpayers' money and giving it to faith-based organizations to to take that money and purchase things for the people in their constituency? They're saying that over 20 churches were invited to participate. I believe one, which is the Jehovah's Witness um, faith, they are deliberating whether or not they should be taking this money. And you know what, Jehovah Witness Association or organization, I don't get you wrong, because this is a government that has been known for not being able to account for funds. They're actually saying that they are telling these faith-based organizations that they need to produce receipts, etc., which is very ironic that they are asking for accounting and transparency and a receipting system when we have been calling for the same thing of the government and have yet to receive it. Interesting that they're asking this of the faith-based organizations. It's also interesting that as of Saturday, over $7 million was already distributed. And I say this is interesting because to date, we have just over 2,000 citizens who have received their salary relief grant. 2,000 citizens,
From
which
6 weeks ago,
in comparison, from 6 weeks ago,
From
yeah,
6 weeks
from
ago.
six from 6 weeks ago, we still don't have citizens who would have applied for these grants. And people would ask, why is this a topic every day? Because every day there seems to be something new popping up in the mainstream media and popping up in the news, popping up in terms of decisions being taken by this administration that raises more questions than it provides answers. And the choice of using a church or using churches to distribute to distribute relief is very questionable to me. Because, like I said, I went and I searched online to see is the United States of America doing this? Is anybody else doing this? We have a Ministry of Social Development. Isn't that what that ministry is for? Is this
Yes.
and people saying, I remember when we started this whole COVID thing, they said, this is not a time for politics. Let us not politic now. But there seem to be some very calculated moves by this administration that seem to be pointing towards some election based kind of moves that,
Yeah.
again, I have to question. Because if I don't belong to a faith, if I didn't get through with a salary relief grant, what becomes of me? And why are we entrusting state funds to religious organizations? I'm not saying that they should not be trusted, but why not purchase the relief and give it to the organization to distribute rather than give them 10 up to $10 million a month to distribute relief? Why are we putting that onus on them? Shouldn't that be the responsibility of the Ministry of Social Development? Is this a political gimmick? Tony, jump in.
Oh gosh, oh gosh. Yeah, now man. Right there, you see that topic that we jumping in there? That's hot. And I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, I keep saying, what is the true purpose of local government? Why is it even in existence if the central government or state cannot utilize this body and mechanism that is already supposed to be on the ground? In all 41 of your constituencies, we've just recently had an election on the local level. We have people in place, but yet these said people are not able to do the proper census information on the ground. I mean, at the end of the day, each councillor could pull a team of 3-4 people and you fan out into the community, into the constituency. You do a census, going to house, having your PPE gear in place, so you have proper protection and protocol for yourself to engage your citizens on the ground, get the numbers, knowing who have versus who do not have, and getting that vital information to central government, where central government now, like you said, get what is necessary for the said people. You know exactly how much people now on the ground in each particular constituency, where you can have your said local government arm distribute to the said citizens. Now, hold on. The second point I want to bring up here in that piece of conversation you're talking church and these religious bodies. And yes, Felicia, I do believe that this is a political tool being used that they will be cashing in on during the election period. Let me stick a pin, like my boy Phil does say, let me stick a pin right. We coming back to that. Now, my questions, and I'm not going to knock the religious institutions of Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, I will not knock the religious institutions of the world, because this will be catered to them on a global scale. We would not even segregate it to Trinidad and Tobago, although, yes, we are dealing with the issues of Trinidad and Tobago this morning. So, okay, our church and mosque and this and that and the other on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago. Everybody collecting tithes every Sunday. You're seeing pastors building mansion, driving Mercedes Benz, and oh, just the best of the best. Which gives me an indication in my mind that these institutions are supposed to be well funded. They have a kitty of sorts of cash, right? And as a religious institution, seeing the environment that we're in, and it's not something that anybody asked for, the state didn't ask for it, they didn't ask for it, the citizens didn't ask for it. How is it there was not an initiation or initiative by religious institutions in pacifying that on their own without having any assistance from the state? Now, that's just me being devil's advocate here, throwing that out there, because again, it was a concern for me as a citizen seeing these organizations, like you said, simply collecting money left, right, and center. And again, what are they directly doing for the citizens themselves? Because when you look at the ones that's paying tithes within any of these religious institutions, is the man on the ground, is the person who actually don't have money, is not even the man who middle class or living in the gated community, is the regular man on the ground. who's supposed to be able to save that money. But again, being devil advocate here this morning where that is concerned. So for me personally, I do not believe that the religious institutions should be involved in that sense. They should have, in my mind, already been on the ground and doing what help and assistance, which I'm sure there are certain institutions on the ground in Trinidad right now that has made that initiative proactively for themselves, and I take my hat off to them. But you have a greater part of that um, uh, that scope of other institutions, other religious institutions that has not taken such an initiative and is more than happy to have the state decide to drop millions of dollars into your pocket where you now have to go out there and seek. Why weren't you going out there and seeking before and knowing who is who and who is what? But anyway, I want to veer away from that now, and that's just my personal opinion. Where that is where that is concerned, and I'm not too happy about it because again I feel you're talking God, you're talking good, you're talking love, and all of that sort of good stuff. Action does speak louder than words, and to date, I still have not seen any religious institutions be proactive enough where they have taken the hit directly within their own community and just went out and truly helped the real people that's on the ground in need, even before the state even decide to give them any kind of money to pacify anything or to help anything. But back to the state, for them to have to turn around to give religious institutions any kind of cash to do disbursements on the ground, again, it shows that the state is failing us because they are not willing to do the job that has been bestowed to them. Their job is to seek the interests of the people. You have the mechanisms in place, you have the systems in place, and it's not directly being utilized to the best of its ability, to the best of its potential. So then now, why are we paying a budget towards local level government? What are they doing directly in order to receive these monies? If not to help central government know exactly what is going on the ground, but they are not doing that. And we've
Well, you
seen it
see,
firsthand.
Anthony, that's the thing that I don't get because they're pointing out that they are going to use local government or they are using local government as well. So this is my question. My question is this. We giving money to faith-based organizations to distribute relief to members or people within their church network or community, or I guess however they see fit to distribute it, because we want to, you know, that's what it's for. Relief is for the money
That,
is to
but
buy relief for
I
the
don't mean to
people.
cut you off, Felicia. I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to say this. That in itself is the example to show that the state is not in touch with the people. If you have to go to a religious institution for them to be able to identify the people on the ground within their own communities and constituencies, it shows that then now local level government really don't need to
Well,
exist if
well,
they
actually, that
do
is the
not know.
point. That is the point I was about to make. We're giving faith-based organizations money to distribute relief. We're giving the Ministry of Social Development to administer relief. We're telling local government you can give relief. We're giving MPs food cards to distribute in their constituency. Yet, at the end of all of this, we still have people line up in lines bending around the corner by Living Waters. We still have people calling the Progressive Empowerment Party, which got no government subventions, which have no deep pocket finances, which many people, our own members, had to dig into their pockets to purchase food for these people. So we have all these levels and layers of relief and funding happening right now, but it's still not reaching the people. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I don't understand how it's possible to be doing all of this and still be leaving people behind. And for anybody who believe Clarence Rambarat and his whole talk about there's nobody going hungry right now in Trinidad, there's no evidence. Nonsense,
Madness.
because you have to, if you're on the ground today, you would know that that is not true. I think I delivered a hamper to a family. If you look at them, you would think, and that's the thing, you're looking at people and you try to judge their circumstance, not understanding that they were literally one paycheck away from being on the breadline. You look at this family, when you dig into their history, The husband was working taxi, the wife can't work anymore. They're seeing about an elderly family member. The income is completely cut from them. Paying mortgage, paying school fees, all of these things that we here have to do in Trinidad and Tobago. And I said yesterday in a post, it is an eye opener to realize just what 1 month, 5 weeks away from a steady source of income, how it can literally cripple an entire economy. But back to the point that I was making, we're doing all of this, we're giving relief to churches, we're giving churches money to purchase relief. How and why is it that we still not touching the citizen on the ground? You said it, we had a local government election, they came to you door to door, they kiss their babies, they shake your hand. Before COVID-19 was a thing, they hug you and they kiss you. How is it now that when it matters, when it counts, you can't find them? How is
Can't see
that
them.
the key? And why is it that, I mean, and I don't want to discount Anthony. You said earlier, the churches who would have gotten tithes and offerings and whatever. I don't want to discount because I know that there are mosques and a few churches who would have done their own
Yes, yes.
relief programs silently. So I definitely not discounting any faith-based organization, any private organization, any citizen who would have done. There's a pepper right here messaged me last night. She wanted to sponsor 10 hampers and I nearly cried because I know this is a hard time for people. So to dig into your own pockets, I know it must be taking a lot out of you. But it shouldn't have to, and it did not have to come to that. And the fact that we could be distributing relief now through the churches, I am waiting to hear that by next week all of Trinidad and Tobago is covered. There should be nobody hungry. There should be no long lines. There should be no lengthy exposés in the Newsday and the Express and the Guardian talking about people on the brink of being evicted. There should be no mother crying on the news saying that her baby hungry and have no milk or pampers. Because again, with everything that we're doing right now, I'm expecting that every single citizen, whether you're born here or not, because the Venezuelans are another issue. There's so many of them reaching out to me, so many of them who are undocumented, so many of them who went to Living Waters and were turned away because everything was done. They too, just like us, they're human beings and they need to survive during this time too. We as a country, for all that we claim to be doing, we clearly not doing enough.
Very true. Very, very true. And you mentioned the Venezuelans again. We were the ones as Trinidad and Tobago that opened the doors to Venezuelans. We wanted to regularize them in a sense where we get them ID'd and so on. All right, all well and good. Even though we had a slight uproar back then, the point is that the state has already accepted Venezuelans and foreigners within the country in itself. Okay, fine. And I come back again to local government, are so distraught about the fact of that arm of the state, simply because it is simply non-functional in my mind, boy. Because you go on the ground, it's critical for us to have census information as to the number of people on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago, both nationals
But Anthony,
and
how don't they have that
non-nationals.
information? How don't they have your information? That information, my polling card comes religiously every single local and general election. So they know
Ah,
where I live. If I move, they find me. How is it now
I
that
like
when
that.
people need help, they don't know where to find you?
You say
Tansy,
something
who
there. You say
voted,
something there. Hold on,
go
hold on. You
ahead,
say
let me
something there.
hear.
You just talk about your polling card for election. The state know how to send out polling cards to everybody mailbox who is registered by the EBC. And you telling me, and which almost covers every home in Trinidad and Tobago, because every adult in every home is valid to vote, which means to say the state has an idea, may not be an exact figure, but a greater part of the number as to the exact number of homes we have in Trinidad and Tobago with address and someone's name and ID that is associated to that home. how it was so hard for the state to be able to dispense the same way how you're getting that EBC card in email, why you could not get a check in email? Why it can be that easy to be able to get a check in email? And even self, we didn't even have to go down the road with EBC, because at the end of the day, the people who even weren't able to be able to vote supposed to collect something too. And this is where the national ID card comes into play. This is something that has the information of the amount of citizens, nationals we are supposed to have on the ground, which is born Trinidad and Tobagonians. We are supposed to have some type of information as to if these people, where these people reside. The state's supposed to have that. You dispense that information down to your local government and have them go and verify and confirm whether citizens are actually there, and if they are able to collect their mail or whatever the case is. Again, it's all about information, and the state has not decided to take that road in getting information. They are simply throwing things out there. They're putting on this show, and creating an environment where they have to forcefully pull monies out of different areas, take loans here and pull out from the H&S fund, and I mean, just from anybody they could pull any kind of money from, and still to date not giving an actual audit or an account as to exactly where those monies have been spent. I hear them talking about this $40 million spent so far on COVID, or 80 billion or 80 million, or what the case might be. The
85
point is that
million. We were
on
at
what?
85 million.
On what? On what, Felicia? On what? Tell me on what? If you have the people on the ground that still hungry and still haven't gotten relief or any food or anything of the sort, where did that money go? Who was that money applied to? To do what? Tell me. Because how much people we had tested so far for COVID? We are 1.4 million people. We crossed 2,000 people yet as far as how much people get tested for COVID. But yet we talking and saying that this costs us so much millions of dollars. Just so 5 weeks, 6 weeks into it. Where did that money go? That's all I want to know. Because again,
And
who's supposed to see that money?
that's the
Who's supposed to get
question.
that help and get it to it?
That's the question of the day, Anthony. And I want to move on from this topic because we spent a good bit of time on it. Like I said, it raises more questions than it gives answers. But it does give us the question of the day, which is, do you agree with the government's decision to distribute funds, COVID relief funds, through churches? And these, again, like I said, these funds are meant to purchase food items and relief items. And I'm not sure again why the government did not purchase these things firsthand, seeing as they have
Exactly.
links with all of the manufacturers and the distributors and the wholesalers and the supermarket association and the importers. They have that direct link. They have that link to be able to purchase things VAT free if they need to. They have a link to be able
That's
to
right.
purchase things in bulk, and like you say, use our local government network to ensure that people get the actual relief. Putting it on the religious organizations, it is
It's wrong.
again, for me, I am not sure I agree with this decision, but I'm putting it out as the question of the day to the public, which we will take your calls at around 9:30 for you to answer. If you agree with this decision by the government to distribute funds up to $10 million a month for 3 months, by the way, to faith-based organizations to assist with COVID relief for their congregation, and I would like to hope people within their constituency. Heaven help me if I have not gone to a church and the pastor has a grudge against me not coming to church for the past 4 or 5 years, which is exactly my case. Anyway, moving on to
Hey.
another very interesting topic, a topic that I know is going to get Anthony very riled up because, in preparation for yesterday's show, this article fell right on my lap, and it spoke about police officers destroying marijuana fields in Rio Claro. And I know this one is definitely going to get to Anthony Defoe, because the first thing that I read when I read that article is, I wonder how much money those crops could have gotten us on the export market. And I wonder how much money, because I believe I raised this on a particular episode of Pep Talks in the morning. When I went to Canada about 2 years ago, I met with the head of a international organization that deals with cannabis exportation. And one of the things that they were one of the things he was telling me is that, he's been trying to come to Trinidad and get to a license to grow marijuana and export it in Trinidad, because something about our soil creates some of the best cannabis in the world. And it's something that, even with all of his macro farms and vertical farming and greenhouses in Canada, and world class fertilizer, is something that they can't even replicate there. And it's something that we're growing and burning here. And the reason I'm raising this particular story, because we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to talk about the Prime Minister inviting citizens to send their ideas for the COVID roadmap to recovery. And I want to tell the Prime Minister, with this, you literally just burnt one of the ideas 2 days ago. You burnt a field of marijuana that is something that the experts, that people in terms of diversification, have been calling for a while now. And I raised this because we here in Trinidad and Tobago, who are so famous for putting the cart before the horse, we went and we decriminalized the recreational um, use of marijuana under 30 grams. Went and did that, and seem to have no real plan or roadmap for marijuana, its use, its sale, its distribution. Because one of the first things that I thought when I heard you can have up to 30 grams of marijuana in your possession is, if you can't grow more than 4 plants per person, if you're burning fields, if you're not giving the industry the room to grow and stimulate itself, where are we supposed to be getting this 30 grams from?
Hmm. Ha. Felicia. Oh gosh, Gail. Let me tell you. Number one, it is legal for us to have 30 grams on us. Okay? Well, wonderful. You are saying, as the state, that we are able to grow up to 4 plants in our home. Now, first to begin with, a plant, one plant, can produce anywhere between 300 to 400 grams. So, right there from one plant, you are now over the limit. So my question is, what is the concession to the citizen where that is concerned? Because the state shooting itself in the foot, and the policies that they have presented where this decriminalization of marijuana is concerned, again, it just simply proves and shows that they have no idea as to exactly what it is they are really doing. Because, again, look, I don't even know where to start, boy. It's just so vast. It's so large. This whole decriminalization of marijuana, and where the story is concerned with the individual in Rio Claro having the little farm burnt. Again, it shows that the state do not know what they are doing. And your friend abroad talking that Trinidad have some of the best soil. Yes, we do have actually some of the best soil in the world. And what makes it even, and what's the cherry on top, is that Trinidad is not too far from the equator, which means to say that we here in Trinidad and Tobago receive the maximum amount of sunlight and rays that our shrubs and plants and greenery feed from. So you would find that we would get more robust plants and vegetables and fruits and so on. Right here in Trinidad and Tobago, our soil is very unique. It makes our agriculture very robust. And again, I believe that we are able and in a position to grow some of the best marijuana here in Trinidad and Tobago. And again, where marijuana is concerned, you have three major applications that you can use marijuana for, which is our known recreational use. You have applications within a medicinal standpoint, and as well as industrial standpoint, where hemp is concerned, and that application, which is a vast industry. It can revolutionize Trinidad and Tobago, where our building and infrastructure is concerned. Having the implementation of hempcrete, for example, that's a concrete that has hemp fibers. It makes the concrete much lighter. It makes it stronger. It's also insulated from heat and cold. The point is that there's many different techniques and technologies associated downstream industries where marijuana is concerned, and the government truly have not a clue as to exactly what they have in front of them that is a great benefit for Trinidad and Tobago and its GDP, employing a large number of our population. I mean, we say, look, marijuana dovetails right into agriculture and our agriculture policies. And again, we say feed the nation, secure our food security. We need to have food independence, being able to feed our entire population from the soil of Trinidad and Tobago without having to look to get imports to pacify the needs of our people where food is concerned. This is our number one priority in this time that we're in right now, and especially having to go through this COVID-19 situation. It's a perfect example simply to show how at risk we as a nation and our citizens are at risk in this time and in this type of situation. We have to put things in place now to secure ourselves, our nation, and the citizens on the ground for a scenario like this in the future. And we need to act now. We need to move on this now. But aside from that whole agriculture policy that the Progressive Empowerment Party have, back to marijuana. The point of the matter is that if the state knows you are relaxing the law and decriminalizing marijuana primarily for the recreational use of marijuana, understand what I'm saying, eh? This has not been directed towards an industrial application or a medicinal application. It has been directed specifically towards the recreational application of marijuana.
But isn't
So,
that isn't that, Anthony? Sorry to cut you there, but again, and I started this by saying we put the cart before the horse because we're telling people that you can have up to 30 grams, and I'm reading here the TTPS advisory, which was released on December 22nd, 2019, which deals with the Dangerous Drug Amendment Bill, and this was the amendment to the act, and it's advising the public that one, you can smoke cannabis less than 30 grams. You can have four growing cannabis plants. You can have less than 5 grams of cannabis resin, and you advise that smoking in a public space is prohibited. Where were they supposed to get these seeds from to grow these
wonderful
said
point.
plants?
Wonderful
Where,
point.
if you're growing four plants, and like you just told me, new information to me, that is way over the 30 grams, what are you supposed to do with it? Seeing as you have not made any facilities available, any licenses available for people to sell the remainder of their crops, what are you supposed to do if you so exceed the 30 grams? Are you supposed to do like the potato and the watermelon farmers who right now are in surplus and go around your neighborhood and just throw weed at people? Here, hold a what you call it? Hold a quarter, a blunt,
Hey,
hold a
hey,
joint,
hey, let me
hold
give
a
you my
blunt. I
address
don't
there,
know.
why?
Is that like Christmas? No, but I'm asking this as a real question because a lot of people celebrated all of this, which I mean, let's be honest, this was a whole political tool. We were at local government elections. This government has been talking about decriminalization since they came into office. They only waited until a local government election to put some hurried legislation on a piece of paper to fool and entice the voters, the PNM supporters, who many of whom we know are marijuana smokers. And we put this legislature together in a very hurried manner. We spoke about releasing the prisoners who were in jail and incarcerated on marijuana related offenses. Have we yet done that? No. We told people that they can plant marijuana. Have we made seeds available for them to plant? No. So then you're hereby acknowledging the fact that we have an illegal marijuana industry. And then three, you're telling people that you can use marijuana recreationally, but you're not putting and making any provisions for them to do so in a legal and safe manner. Because again, you write a law into the books, putting no real forethought into it, and then putting no thought into what's going to happen after. Because I mean, I was being very sarcastic when I say, if I have more than 30 grams, am I supposed to go and drop it in people's mailboxes and just throw weed at them for their birthday and Christmas? But that is a real question. And if you're allowing it for recreational use, do I have to wait 6 to 8 months to grow my own plants in order to smoke marijuana? Come on.
Very true. Very, very true. Again, it did not making sense, and every step that the state has taken where this is concerned for the decriminalization of marijuana, it simply proves that they do not have a clue as to exactly what they are doing. And if they do have a clue, it's a clue that they are not wanting the population to know, because there's an underlying agenda as to why they are taking the steps that they are taking and treating the decriminalization of marijuana in the way that they are treating it. I have an individual right now. He had, I believe, I think it was seven or no, five plants in his yard, and police roll up by the man and arrested him. I am still to actually meet the family and have discussion with them in knowing exactly what took place where that was concerned. There were more than two adults within that same premises, but he was the only one that was at the home at the point in time. And the reasoning why the police had arrested him was due to him being over the four plant limit. So again, I'm going to leave it right there. I don't have all the information at hand. I am supposed to meet with the family during the course of this week. So maybe at a later show, I could give you an update as to exactly what took place where that is concerned. But you said it just now, Felicia. I believe it is four plants per person. But they are throwing out there into the wind, and I have no idea if that has actually changed, where they're saying that it's four plants per household. Um, I really don't know. Everything is too vague, and no one is putting the policy in itself in the public for the population to truly understand exactly what it is this decriminalization of marijuana really means. What and you brought up a great point. How are we to get our seed stock? Did they decide to talk to the Ministry of Agriculture in trying to find out how are we able to acquire a seed stock here in Trinidad and Tobago? Also, you mentioned a license uh, for the operation, cultivation, and distribution of marijuana. It's still non-existent. It's still nowhere in the works. I mean, we've been saying all the time, regulate marijuana the same way you're regulating tobacco as well as alcohol. Is that simple? You
Exactly.
have to get your license. But the point is that every step along the way in making sense out of this nonsense is not rocket science, and it's very easy to create the environment. And again, developing on marijuana would allow for a totally new industry to evolve right here in Trinidad and Tobago that can have a great contribution not only to the GDP of our national pie, but also employing citizens on the ground, having young people who presently is not they are not interested in agriculture. We have done that for the last 2, 3 decades, not influencing the young people within agriculture. It's as if farming is the bastard child of the economy or within society, where farmers are supposed to be some of the most important people in the country, because they're the ones providing the food sustainability for your population. But again, they have made that whole thing that where agriculture is concerned so odd. It's not a thing that you want to get into or be interested in. So you have young people that is they're really not interested. But my point is, with discussions myself with young people across the country, talking about the initiative of, hey, instead of selling weed on the block, would you be interested in having in your possession an acre of land, and on that acre, let's just say let's allot a quarter to a third of that acre towards the growth of cannabis, marijuana, and the other two-thirds to be directed towards the consumption data for the population, where you hold a piece of that pie in trying to provide for the state, for the country, and its needs. Whether it's a quarter acre of pimento or next quarter acre of dasheen, and what have you. The point is that from the consumption data, we would have exactly how much of what we are consuming as a nation, 1.4 million people, for a yearly time for that block. So we know exactly how many harvests we need to have, how much land we need to have to produce how much of what, to pacify the population and create a more independent and secure food environment for Trinidad and Tobagonians. It's that simple. And in the same breath, you have another industry on the side where cannabis is concerned. And again, you have three applications, which is recreational, which we are diving into right now. It's what we've been dealing with for all the decades that has been illegal. People on the ground, a large portion of the population has been consuming marijuana recreationally for decades. So, in my mind, the focus should not be on recreational application. The focus needs to be, because we have seen and heard and know the different tests around the world, the different applications around the world, medicinally, helping people with major health problems, as well as industrially. On the industrial aspect, this is a $1 billion industry. And again, where Trinidad is in our history right now, it's a perfect initiative to help with the development of our fine nation here in Trinidad and Tobago, where infrastructure is concerned, hempcrete and all the other applications that you can have where hemp is concerned, with fabrics and rope and just the whole 9 yards and ensemble. Again, is acquiring the information, acquiring the techniques, acquiring the know-how in developing the industry in itself. We said 41 constituencies, you're able to hire 1,000 citizens in each constituency to apply just in that industry, just right there, where the decriminalization of marijuana is concerned, whether it be on the medicinal application or the industrial application. The point is we can hire up to 1,000 employees, if not more, in every constituency. And you're talking, if that is 41 constituencies, is 41,000 employees. You suddenly have it's 41,000 citizens that are now off the breadline, right off the bat, with one model Trinidad and Tobago, one model, boy. Just the decriminalization of marijuana. Again, we can dive into three different industries right there, downstream industries. Just develop this whole thing with a greater benefit for the population, a greater benefit for the country in itself. It's not about simply lighting up and getting high and everybody stoned, and that is not what we are
Yeah, but
supposed to be
Auntie, that's what
focusing
they
on.
want. But that's
Yeah,
what they
because they want a
want. They want
stupid
a
population.
population, exactly. They want a population that's too high, that's too distracted to ask these questions that we're asking now. But I hope for those who get high and who smoke, and when you hit that blunt and you get that inspiration, that you can ask the question, but boy, how come I could only grow 4 plants? And why am I supposed to do it my extra weed? And how come I can't cultivate this to sell to my partners and to sell in an industry? But people in government and who's friends with government could apply for cannabis related. What was it he applied for? That he registered this company. I can't remember the name of the company, but it had cannabis in its name, and turn around and say that it was a clothing company. Oh gosh, come on, please. And somebody said on a live here, when people, Stephen Downer, one of our very faithful viewers, and for everybody who's watching us right now, please take half a second to share the live. Really nice discussion this morning. When people appreciated decriminalization of marijuana was simply an election gimmick, they will appreciate it was a not well thought out plan. Thus, after the fact, we have all these questions that were not thought of before, in particular the Attorney General. And that's so true. He also
But
went on to
I
say
want to add
perhaps
one thing. I want to
Instead
add
of
something to
KFC
that
houses.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Perhaps instead of KFC houses, we should invest in weed cafes where it is legally sold in a cafe with a cup of coffee and free Wi-Fi so you can browse whilst you drink and smoke in a designated area. We have this in Holland, we have this in Canada, we have this in countries that actually understand the potential of the marijuana industry, that understand that recreational use is not just for a man sitting down on the block smoking weed, getting high, not thinking of plans and a
Correct.
future and a country that works, but actually a country where marijuana is seen as an actual crop, an actual product that can stimulate the economy, all the different uses that we have, like that Anthony pointed out. It can be linked to first world development. I mean, nobody would think to pair Wi-Fi, coffee, and marijuana. But it's actually an industry, it's actually a booming industry if you look abroad and overseas. So people here in Trinidad and Tobago need to think bigger. Don't just look at the fact that the government give you the ability to smoke weed and it can light up with your friends if it's under 30 grams. Look at the bigger picture. Look at where you and if you notice the way it was done, it was to give with one hand and take away with the other hand because you feel like you're somewhere now. You feel like we reach somewhere now. But in reality, you're only able to do, like you said, Anthony, you're only able to do what you've been doing for the past 2 decades legally up to a certain amount. What about if you want to expand? What if you want to become a legitimate ganja farmer? Is it just that license is going to be given out to 1% friends and family? What about you? Is he small man and he blocked who should be empowered?
Yes, yes, that is exactly where the focus supposed to be. Is to get the same boys off the block, get them out of the gangs, empower them with real money in pocket for something that they are already accustomed to, just in the wrong dynamic. That is the problem. Because instead of dealing with marijuana on a gang footing, having to tote gun in your waist and control block and all of this sort of madness, get the young people off the streets now, man. Create a proper policy and protocol within the country as to how we are able to operate under these conditions. And again, apply the same type of model where you have alcohol and tobacco. Apply it in the same sense towards marijuana as well now. Open up the different industries in itself, educating the population, getting the infrastructure in place, identifying the lands and the soil factors and so on across the country, and truly do proper development where cannabis is concerned. It is a
Anthony,
money maker.
you talking medicinal marijuana. And just I want to make this point before we go to that 9 o'clock break, a little after 9, but that's okay. They they're actually using marijuana right now in trial tests in countries, well, states like Miami and in Europe to actually treat COVID-19. And they're doing those trials now because marijuana, as many people are coming to understand, cannabis for that matter, is a super drug and a super natural drug. The um pharmaceutical country, not country, the pharmaceutical industry has long been fighting and trying to suppress marijuana because it does naturally what many pharmaceutical drugs do artificially. And it's no I remember doing some research into why was marijuana illegal versus alcohol and all of these things. And so many of these things are rooted in
Propaganda.
history, in politics, and exactly politics and propaganda. Now, this is not me saying that it should be a free for all, everybody smoking weed. Of course, just like with alcohol, just like with tobacco, everything should be done in moderation. Everything should be done within parameters. There should be boundaries. There should be lines that you can't cross, etc. But to suppress the marijuana industry in favor of the pharmaceutical industry, when in fact the marijuana, the cannabis has been found to treat and cure ailments, cancer patients, they benefit
Cancer,
greatly from the
leukemia, you
use
have a
of
host of
marijuana.
different things.
Exactly. And as an optometrist, Anthony, you know this information. So Here in Trinidad and Tobago, we seem to be a long ways from actually implementing real legislation, real um, progressive thoughts and ideas towards the use and real and actual decriminalization of marijuana, at least outside of the recreational use that we tried to fool supporters come December last year into believing was going to be such a great thing for them. But if you look back at it now, if you look at it now, nothing has changed for them in actuality. Nothing has really
Well,
changed. But
I'll tell you this, Felicia, why they're looking at marijuana where this whole COVID-19 is concerned is that marijuana is also a anti-inflammatory property. It has anti-inflammatory properties within it, which is one of the issues that people deal with being infected with the COVID-19 and the effects that it has on the lungs. Again, it's because the lungs become inflamed, where marijuana again is something that can assist in that scenario. So again, we are sitting back and we are actually looking on very carefully to see what the results are, where these testings are taking place and are concerned. So in a timing, we will be able to actually give a presentation as to what the actual findings were, where marijuana is concerned pertaining towards the COVID-19 pandemic. How well is it and how effective it actually is. And maybe again, if we can be proactive enough to be able to get that research information and have some type of application right here in Trinidad and Tobago, we don't need to be followers again. We should be leaders and taking proactive actions. We have the world of information at our fingertips. And we are just simply not utilizing it to the best of our ability for the benefit of the country or the citizens in itself. And again, it's simply a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer, man, Felicia. All the answers we have in front of us, is just simply not being applied correctly.
it's not being applied correctly because it doesn't benefit those who benefit from it being applied incorrectly for it to be applied correctly. And that's just seeing it in a nutshell. At this point, we're going to
Yeah.
take a quick break and come back. We are going to discuss some other items. Sanitation workers refuse a 1% salary increase. I don't think I can blame them. When we come back from this short break, we will discuss this and other topics. Please stay with us.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
Despite the security and convenience advantages offered, many have opted out of the formal banking sector and have chosen instead less traditional means of saving their money. Due in no small part to what some have termed rapacious and usurious fees and rates, the public find themselves in a position where deposits of funds in the banks lead to a net loss at the end of the year, making no sense to anyone at all. The traditional relationship is supposed to be one built on depositors' funds being made available to the banks so that the banks could make those funds available through credit to small businesses to stimulate development and growth. This would have the effect of buoying the economy and creating jobs, a net win for everyone. But that is not what occurs right now. The absence of banking service regulations creates an environment where the banks could do as they pretty much damn well please, leading to where we are today, money warehousing. The Progressive Empowerment Party advocates for strong financial service regulations, including setting and determining banks' lending and deposit fees so as to create an environment where the banks can continue to earn fantastic profits as they do right now, and also protect depositors from overzealous profiteering banks. Deposit fees, cash checking fees, over-the-counter fees, ATM fees, we're one step away from banks charging appearance fees. It is ridiculous, and someone has to speak about it. The public does not know who to turn to. The Financial Services Ombudsman seems to be a myth. The central bank governor and the Minister of Finance don't seem to understand whose responsibility it is to protect depositors and customers from ridiculous fees run amok. So the Progressive Empowerment Party will. We are engaging this conversation with the public, hoping to get the banks and those in government presently to do their jobs. If not, an election is around the corner. Vote the Progressive Empowerment Party into office, and we will ensure that while the banks are free to make all the profits they want, they will do so servicing and respecting the customers, paying interest on depositors' funds that they use to generate interest for themselves through lending credit, and not have to rely on advantageous fees leaking funds from customers' accounts.
What do you call it when a bunch of companies collude to set prices, fix markets, close off competition, capture regulators, and bribe politicians?
Another issue contributing to this lack of respect and service is the closed-off nature of our financial services sector and the lack of real competition among the banks. The Progressive Empowerment Party also advocates for an open market where banking and financial services are concerned. We would create an environment that invites international competition to help bring new, vibrant stimulation into the economy, creating an environment where all banks now have to compete for depositors' funds, creating the environment that we're looking for. I am Philip Edward Alexander, and this has been 3 Minutes to a Better Trinidad and Tobago.
We are back, and we're going to continue our discussion on, well, before we get into that discussion on the sanitation week, as I did want to bring up the fact that the Prime Minister, and this flows quite seamlessly from the topic that we just discussed with the marijuana fields being destroyed in Rio Claro. Our Prime Minister has invited citizens to send ideas for the COVID roadmap to recovery. And I mean, I don't want to spend too long on this because I think in itself, it's pretty self-explanatory. He came out and said it a week and a half ago that he's not sure how to diversify the economy. I guess this is part two of that speech where he's now turning to the citizens. I am not sure what his Avengers 22 team assembly is for, seeing as I thought that was their job. But maybe, with him reaching out to citizens, we might get paid for this. I don't know. Hopefully, we do get some kind of compensation because the Progressive Empowerment Party can give you a list of ideas of things to diversify the economy. And like I joked about a little bit earlier in the show, the TTPS burnt down one of those very ideas when they went into Rio Claro and destroyed that marijuana field. So, I mean, Anthony, anything for you to say on this? I mean, I know it's kind of funny, but it's funny sad. Funny, yeah, funny sad.
It is funny, sad, and again, it just simply shows that there was no level of proactivity by the state, by the prime minister and his because you are taking that initiative now, when it's all said and done, and we're in the mix of the melee. Where this was supposed to be talks that was taking place since in 2019, when we had an idea, or even at least since January, when the president had proclaimed COVID-19 to be an actual threat to Trinidad and Tobago and its citizens. But I would also say better late than never. My concern is yes, they have made the call, as what we've been saying all the time: communicate with the population, have all players involved have their say, have their proposal. It's a step into the right direction, but with what they've done in the past and how they've treated with situations similar to this, Um, the question lies, are they actually going to listen to the citizens? Would they really take the proposals and presentations and models into account and actually have some of these policies implemented in real time? We're not talking months down the road. This is not something that we talk about today and want to try to implement at the end of the year. This is something that we have to do right away, and is why proactive motions and initiatives is so important. We are just simply continuously showing how reactive we are as a nation, as the state. That is the state's fault right now. It's the state's fault right now because they are continuously being reactive versus being proactive. But anyway, that's all well and good. The point is that for me personally, I think it is a step into the right direction. Although I don't think that it should be something where they simply submit and go through that whole scenario as to how they want to have that initiated. I do believe that the state should be holding a national conference where people can interact and come together, literally, actually come together and have real discussions towards the development of Trinidad and Tobago and the steps that we need to take forward. Now, again, being that we're in the position that we're in with COVID-19 and we have to practice social distancing, okay, fine. If you don't want to congregate in that conference of sorts, we look, technology. We have technology right here. We can have conferences via the net, via the web. There are many apps that will be able to facilitate multiple numbers of people in multiple locations where you can have the discussion, get the ball rolling, pull the people in, and for the state not to have a clear idea as to the individuals on the ground that can have some positive input within development of Trinidad and Tobago. It just shows again they are not in touch with the population whatsoever at any level. At any level, the only level they may be would be with their friends, family, and finances, and that's the only the link that they truly have. It's the only concern that they're worried about. They're not concerned about everything and everyone else down the line. And they keep proving it. They keep showing it time and time again. We just look, like I said, it's a good initiative. I am hoping that we can have something positive from this. I would like very much for the Progressive Empowerment Party to possibly even have direct talks with the state where our policies are concerned, presenting it to them. It would be perfect to know that we can, yes, be in office and be able to systematically implement our policies, because we know for sure, 110%, that it would bring great benefit, not just for Trinidad and Tobago, but for every citizen on the ground. With that said, again, the powers that be would want to say that it's that they're not trying to be political. But in my mind, one of the reasons why they would not want to implement a PEP's policy in this rebuilding and the initiative of redeveloping Trinidad and Tobago is because, again, it is politics for them. It is a political line for them because they can't afford for policies of the Progressive Empowerment Party to work straight out of the gate. They can't afford that. But again, I'm still having an open mind and hoping that some level of common sense can prevail within the PNM and the state in itself, from either side, whether it be the UNC as opposition or PNM as the ruling party at the moment. The point is that we have no other choice than to actually come together and to have dialogue and to really set a motion forward for Trinidad and Tobago, because it is for the benefit of all citizens. It's not a benefit to just the PNM. It's not a benefit to just the UNC. It's not a benefit for just the Progressive Empowerment Party or any other political party for that matter. It is a benefit for the citizenry, 1.4, 1.5 million people on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago. It is for their benefit. So we have to try our best to have dialogue and to meet each other halfway and to truly try to develop something that is foolproof, that can systematically work in bringing a level of betterment and security for Trinidad and Tobago. It's that simple. And that's my take on it.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a bit, because I mean, since the COVID-19 pandemic, we've been preaching, well, not we, the government has been preaching this togetherness and this let's unite and all of this huggy and lovey-dovey talk that that's being spewed right now. And I mean, on paper it sounds nice. Let's come together as a nation. Let's rally together and weather the storm of the pandemic that has basically impacted all of us. I was reading yesterday, well over 208 countries in the world have been impacted by COVID-19. So it's not unique here to Trinidad and Tobago, but we were uniquely positioned in that we were not doing very well. Our main source of income, which is oil and gas, has taken a very huge hit right now. So our roadmap to recovery is going to be a very difficult one, and like you said, Anthony, it's going to require the buy-in of all the stakeholders, etc. But in plain devil's advocate, I have to raise this particular issue, and this is where my faith is probably waning in with regards to this particular initiative, which is that it has benefited friends of the government and financiers of the government. A failing country does and has been proven to benefit them. So whether Trinidad fails, whether it succeeds, it seems like some people would always be part of the 1%. They would always be part of the class that seems unimpacted, unaffected by everything that is happening around us. I mean, we had this discussion about people who right now, the stark contrast between some people lining up around living waters, or waiting for people to come and give them handouts, or calling on the phone and crying, or speaking to the media about what's happening in their family, in comparison to people who spending COVID-19 down the islands, who have private chefs and hairdressers and nail techs and makeup artists right there in their houses. So COVID-19 is just a vacation for them, whether this country does not recover well economically, whether we don't, they have their stake outside of Trinidad and Tobago. If they so choose, they can pick up and leave. Their children have been educated abroad. If you look at the cross section of government ministers right now, you would be pressed to find any one of them who don't have children who are either citizens abroad or they themselves are citizens abroad, overseas accounts, children who have education that children here would never be able to dream about, going some of the most prestige schools and universities in countries that none of some of us will never be able to visit. And I say this because all the talk about togetherness and let's stand together and let's pull together during COVID-19, is it really to the benefit of the citizens? Because if that were the case, then why did it take this long? And why did it take a pandemic for us to start talking progress and diversification and us pulling together? Is it just a case? Is this, again, I have to ask, this is a political thing? I would love to believe that PNM and UNC and PP can sit down and have talks about carrying Trinidad and Tobago forward. But what about COVID-19 makes it different from every other time we have been talking progress and carrying Trinidad and Tobago forward and empowering the people and making a country where making it a country where everybody can have a stake, where everybody can benefit? What is it about now that is supposed to make me believe that this is genuine? And that's just my feelings on the matter. It is not going to stop me, of course, from wanting the best ideas and solutions to be heard and implemented by the government, because at least for me, it is about the people and it is about the benefit of all and the well-being of all citizens. Like I say, it's just hard for me to buy into that narrative now when we have been seeing for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years a country on a steady decline, and no talk or no discussion about how we were really going to pull it out of that hole that we were steadily climbing down into.
Well, I would tell you, Felicia, at this point, look, in a perfect world, I would say that yes, the Progressive Empowerment Party, we are a political vehicle and we have sound policies tried and tested, developed for over 10 years and more. And we truly believe, with all the belief in our bodies, that these policies, once implemented, will work, will bring a positive effect to Trinidad and Tobago and its citizens. With that said, yes, putting the Progressive Empowerment Party in office will ensure this for Trinidad and Tobago, will ensure it, is why we have a Progressive Empowerment Party, to ensure that for the population. At this juncture, right now, again, for ourselves, we are not talking, let's hold hands and kumbaya and not meaning it. We do mean it. We do want to have dialogue with the PNM, with the UNC, with all political parties in Trinidad and Tobago, in having a clear idea as to what was on people's mind, what policies or protocols or blueprints that everyone has moving the country forward. We have to have that discussion. We have to have that dialogue. I mean, again, remember I said, in a perfect world. Are we in a perfect world? No. And you brought a great point up, thinking to yourself that, is this still being political? And yes, it is. It is. Because again, watching the steps of the state, actions speak louder than words, Trinidad and Tobago. All you notice, actions speak louder than words. And when you're saying one thing and in the same breath you're doing something else, that shows. It shows.
But
And
Anthony, you're calling on citizens for their input. All well and good. And again, I raising this issue because as you started to speak, names just started to come to mind. Patrick Watson, brilliant man. I think this man is a genius. Ved Serum, when he came on that show 2 weeks ago, I was blown away that we could have a Trinidadian, such a simple man, and he says things so simply that even the most illiterate, incompetent person can understand him. When he spoke about the state of our economy right now, where we could be based on the means that we have to diversify, he talked about reopening currently, and I had to agree with him because we have all the state land just growing grass. Sugar is
yeah,
still a major commodity in the world. Why don't we do that? Why aren't we looking to diversify in terms of agriculture? When the Prime Minister said back in 2018, we don't have enough land for farming, we know that that was a blatant lie. Ved Siram, Mala Dukaran, this Clyde Weatherhead. When I look at the names, Anthony, that we have available right now and then compare them to that 22 team COVID recovery map team, this is where I have to
exactly.
ask the question, what is really your motive? Because it's not to say we have a lack of intelligent minds in this country. It's not to say we have a lack of people who have been screaming at the top of their lungs, this is what we need to do, this is our position, here's how we diversify, this is the problems that are facing us right now in Trinidad and Tobago. So I don't, what is that thing we say? Vote the solution, Jesus Christ. Oh, what is that thing we say? The problem, oh gosh, I wish I could remember it. But basically, it's alluding to the fact that the answer can't be found at the same level that the problem was created. That is basically what it is saying. And the problem that we're seeing right now is that the same people who's talking recovery, the same people who's talking about let's get citizen buy-in, are the same people who were responsible for creating the same problems that we are in right now. Look, we talk about prior to this COVID-19 drama, we were talking about what happened with the Red House. And Anthony, that's something that we here in the Progressive Empowerment Party will never let go. Will never, ever, ever let go. I sat on a bench around the savannah with Philip last week. He did a live video and I was driving around and I stopped, and after the video we were just looking across at the president's house and just watching that and couldn't believe one how much, $109 million that we spent on that. And you know what's the sad part? You know what that was juxtaposed with at the same time that we were just staring at it and it's all its empty glamour. A homeless man, dirty. When I tell you dirty, Anthony, his hair's matted, his clothes tattered, and the savannah is empty and nobody around. So there's just this one lone man just walked right in front of the president's house. And we both just sat in silence, just watching this man walk. And I looked at him when he reached directly in front of the president's house. I looked at him and I looked at the president's house, and the juxtaposition of the two very contrasting imagery was so shocking that I said, like I said, we had to just sit in silence. And then he eventually told me, that man, I know this man from since whenever I tried to give him a hamper once and he refused. And I can't even begin to imagine what this man's circumstance would have led him to be in the position that he's in, walking barefoot, dirty, clearly not in a place that anybody would wish on their worst enemy. And seeing him as a citizen in this country and watching the amount of money that we spent meters away from where he was walking, it broke my heart and there were no words to describe how I felt as a citizen sitting down there on that bench watching those two things unfold in front of me, watching where we would have taken money as a country and just spent it in contracts and cost overruns. Ato Bolden was on the show last week, Plain Talk, and Philip brought up the Ato Bolden Stadium, and for him it's an embarrassment. People call him all the time and show him pictures of what the Ato Bolden Stadium represents now, how it's in ruins and tattered. And when you think of the kind of money that we spent on that, when you think of where we have allowed money to just be siphoned in this country, the Attorney General is talking about saving money. What about saving us the money of renting number 1 and 3 Alexandra Place that is empty? What about that? These are the things that I think about when I listen to this present government talk anything that is supposed to be about togetherness and solutions and recovery and a brighter future. You can't be preaching and telling me about a brighter future when you are the reason that my present is so dark, dismal, and gloomy. I absolutely can't trust that anything that you say or do is really with the best interest of the citizens in mind. It's why I am in the Progressive Empowerment Party, because I don't believe that this present PNM administration really has the interest of the citizens in mind. I believe that they are completely beholden to the people who would have financed their campaigns. I believe that their interests come first, and they have shown it through this pandemic. We had who got the contract? Abood got the contract for ankle bracelets out of the middle of the night, just so he got the contract for those ankle monitoring bracelets that we spoke about last week. Private security contract firms got the contract to do private patrols, and if the citizens then push back, what would have been the case today? And I bring up all of these things, Anthony, because it's just to summarize how I feel with regards to the Prime Minister inviting citizens now to bring and put forward their ideas. We have the brilliant minds in this country that you have neglected in favor of doing what the hell you wanted. You have the brilliant minds who have been telling you what is coming. You have ignored it, and now that we're in this situation, don't pappy show me by inviting me to contribute my ideas to recovering or a road to recovery for Trinidad and Tobago. That's just my feelings on the matter.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right to have the feelings in that sense, because it's exactly what it is. It is really what it is. Um, Again, it's just a sad affair to really watch the steps being taken, and we are in a very unique time right now, and I just have to continuously emphasize that we have the opportunity to change things in Trinidad and Tobago to allow to usher in a new way in how we conduct ourselves on the ground here in Trinidad, within every area, within every aspect, how we conduct business, how we spend money, how we make money, how we teach, how we learn, our healthcare. I mean, just everything across the board, man. We have that opportunity to create that environment. Now, these are the people that the state needs to sit and talk with. As far as a roadmap to recovery, we need not to simply focus on one area, whether it be the economics of Trinidad and Tobago, if that is the recovery that they're talking about, because in reality, everything else is dovetailed towards it. Everything is interconnected because there's a cost where education is concerned. But are we getting the biggest bang for our buck? Is things very efficient in the sense of monies being having to be spent within education? Is it reaching down to the student and benefiting them and developing them in a greater sense, in a more efficient sense? Same thing where healthcare is concerned. Same thing where our security on the ground is concerned, not just within the neighborhoods and the TTPS, but nationally, where our Coast Guard and armed forces and so on, protecting our borders is concerned. All these different things, we have to evolve. We have to create better systems, better policies and protocols, better ways in which we do things, period. Period. It is extremely important for us to get the biggest bang for our buck and to be able to create an environment of self-sufficiency. Again, this is a perfect environment and time for us to realize this is a test. This whole situation we're dealing with right now is a test. It's to show the inefficiencies within the system, and we need to address these inefficiencies right now. Prepare for whatever else there is to come in the future, where the people are safe, have a safeguard, the country in itself has a safeguard. We have that you talked earlier about diversification of the economy. There are many different things that we can do to diversify the economy. The question is that no one is willing to take those steps, because obviously there must still be an agenda behind closed doors that the population truly just don't know about, and it may stem towards the corporate sector. But like I wanted to raise a point earlier again, we are not trying to dismantle things in a way to create chaos. We are trying to make sense out of the nonsense. It can be done. Be aware of the environment that we're in, identify the issues and problems that we are dealing with as a nation, whether it be in the public sector, private sector, as a businessman, as an employee, as a regular citizen. Drill our solutions to the ground. Drill it to the ground. Drill it to the issue. Direct. Face it direct. Don't dance around it. Don't put a plaster on it. Don't create a show from it. Directly engage it. Deal with it head on. That's where we need to be. We can't be singing and dancing and putting on the show that we're going on because we are not in a position to survive it. This is real life. We are dealing with a real situation, a real pandemic right now, and thank God Trinidad was somewhat spared in not having a more chaotic environment with hundreds and possibly thousands more people being infected and just creating a serious situation, because we know our healthcare system is not in a position to deal with a true pandemic on the ground where you have hundreds of thousands of people being infected. I mean, look, we just talk about we were trying to acquire 300 more beds to address the COVID situation. What was going to happen had we got more than 300 people that was infected? If we had 3,000 people that was infected, how was our system being able to deal with that situation in this point in time, in this predicament? How? And nobody want to sit down and create an environment of proactivity in setting things in place to cater for that said situation. I mean, granted, we may not be able to deal with a whole 1.4 million people in the healthcare system. Yes, we know that. But at the end of the day, we can still have enough systems in place to try to pacify as it comes into play, as it comes into the situation, in and out, deal with it, identify it. Let's just come with the solutions direct now, man. Instead of doing this dance and you talked before, Felicia, about the security contracts again. My question is, why the state is doing this, taking these steps that they are taking? Is it that they want to have a chaotic environment so they can insist on having the said security firms get the so-called contracts that they were just recently denied. I don't know. Ask it, because it seems as if that is the environment that we are creating, one of chaos. Because again, we talked earlier in the show about families not being able to access grants, not being able to get food, not being able to be qualified to get the grants, which the state has indicated over 6 weeks ago they were presenting to the citizens. 6 weeks later, you still have a greater part of the population that still at sea. One bit of relief yet is regular people on the streets, neighbors and family members and whoever else on the ground that is giving assistance to their fellow citizen. It's not the state. The state is not going out of their way in order to try to pacify the situation or the ailments or the headache that the people on the ground is dealing with. The same state that have a clear idea that we have a large portion of our population living below the poverty line. What have they done to address them? Have they gone into to Celots, to Beetham, to Lavantil, to Enterprise, to Maloney, to Abbey Pujard and Big Yard and Labre? Have they put their people on the ground to identify the same strongholds of the PNM that has had political reign, economical reign, social reign in Trinidad and Tobago's history for its independence to present day? These said constituencies and areas are the strongholds of the PNM that holding this institution up, that political vehicle, that misfit of a political vehicle up. And yet these are the said people that are suffering. And ask me right now, ask them right now, ask the nation right now, ask the state right now, have you gone into the constituencies which is your strongholds and pacify the families there? Because we are sure, aside from the ones that was working the little CPEP and the little URP, you have a large number of people that is working within the private sector that has not been pacified by their bosses, because their bosses in itself, from whatever company or businesses that they own, is basically in the same predicament as the same employee, because he still had to look to pay a mortgage from the bank, he still had to pay a car payment, he still had to look to pay phone bill and the light bill and whatnot. His doors is closed, he's not generating any money. So how much assistance they expect to get from those quarters? They are trying to tighten their belt, they're trying to ration what they have. So what it leaves for the regular man on the ground who live in day to day, month to month, week to week, who have to depend on that paycheck or the daily paid, or have to depend on that weekly paid or fortnightly paid or that monthly payment. What we doing for them is 6 weeks on, 7 weeks on, since we have the country locked. What these people doing? They don't miss a whole month worth of pay. How are they eating? How are they feeding their family? Who are addressing that? And yet you have people right now as citizens getting evicted out of their homes from their landlords and so on, because you have landlords that has given concessions to some tenants. All well and good. Again, hats off to you guys having to identify the plight that the citizens are dealing with, especially if these citizens are your tenants. That's understood. But there are other citizens on the ground that is being evicted from their homes right now, because of non-payment of rent. And why was that? Because your Commander-in-Chief, Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, telling the nation, all you stay home, close your business, no, but you ain't have nothing else, full stop. You ain't have nothing else in place to pacify the same people that you're trying to tell to stay home. You want to make the grant application so cumbersome and so difficult for the regular man on the ground with all the different requirements. Look, you have how much landlords living abroad. How much people could get signature or whatever from landlord who living abroad. If you ask them to make copies of certain things, if you have a national shutdown in the country and you have essential workers and non-essentials, you have many businesses across the board. The copy centers, tell me, are they essential? I know they are not, and I know that they will close. So my question is how am I going to go get my copy, or how am I going to go to the internet cafe to get in contact with my landlord to transfer documents or what the case might be? How did anybody think about what it is really going on here, and how are we pushing this onto the population? Did the state take the time of day to understand the systems that they have to put in place systematically, moving this whole situation through where the citizens and the country and the economy and every blasted thing else is concerned? Nobody ain't thinking about it, because they're being simply reactive. They're going as today, well, we wake up in the morning, let me see how it go today, and well, we go deal with it as it come now. That is how they're operating right now. And at the end of the day, it is still the citizen on the ground that is feeling the brunt. Not the 41 of them that cock up in the gated community with the maid and the chauffeur and fridge full of food, and they collecting a normal salary, they having tax exemptions, and they having the world of benefit. But yet the people is the one holding the shitty end of the stick. Why is that? And they're supposed to be the
Indeed,
servants of the people?
Anthony. And I don't want to cut you, but we have just under 15 minutes left of the program. We were supposed to open the lines. I'll blame you for that, but no, we did
Yeah,
miss that mark to open
Alex.
the lines. So if you do want to call in and say, the question of the day was, do you agree with the government's decision to disburse COVID relief through the churches by giving them up to 10 million, or distributing up to 10 million to 20 churches for up to 3 months? Um, Basically, if you agree with that decision or anything else you would like to call in and talk about, like I say, we have just under 15 minutes left of the program. And I did want to discuss this issue here just quickly before we wrap up, which was the sanitation workers. And I mean, we talk a lot of politics on this show because it is a political talk show. But I saw this particular article and it got me really upset. It's basically the sanitation workers and their union. They are refusing a 1% salary increase. They're saying that some of their workers make between 2,000 and 4,000 monthly, and that a 1% salary increase would just amount to about $18 a day, which for them was very disrespectful. And I have to say, I agree with them because at the start of this pandemic, I remember we had, and the stay-home order, we had a lot of we had a particular let me don't call the man a financier. We had a particular businessman coming out and encouraging citizens to clap for our essential workers one Sunday, which I didn't understand at all. And I saw this meme come up that the producer is supposed to put up on the screen. This meme that spoke about paying essential workers a salary. Nah, but paying for commercial stanking essential workers for everything that they do, yeah. Which is, I mean, it was funny. They used that Drake meme to depict what we're talking about here, but it is the reality. The sanitation workers, and every morning I hear, well, every other morning I hear the garbage truck pulling up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're there diligently picking up my trash. They're the septic tank workers who are there working day in and day out. And I I think it is really unfair how we treat them. The fact that they have to be begging for more than $18 a day is is almost unbelievable. And it's a slap in their faces when we tell them, here, hold a round of applause and let's run a commercial with a big fanfare and banners and saying thank you. But when it comes down to actually paying them for the work that they do, we can't even do that. And I say that because they sanitation workers and I don't understand why people would look down on them. I think they are some of the most important people that you would find
Yeah.
in any country. If it weren't for them, we would be literally walking around in garbage and feces. That is the reality of the situation. And but yet they're there. And let's not just talk about sanitation because we're talking about the KFC box packers, the people who, well, I was going to say the people who sweep the streets, which are sanitation workers as well. But basically, the people on the front line, nurses, etc., these are all people who form part of the essential services of Trinidad and Tobago. And we treat them, telling them that they are not deserving of a proper salary, is treating them with scant courtesy. And it's time we start giving these people the respect that they deserve. It's time we start giving them the remuneration that they deserve. It's time we start paying them for the amount of effort that it takes to keep our nation clean, to keep our nation running. It can't be easy working a job where you have to be up by 3 o'clock in the morning, driving a truck from uh, city to city or town to town or wherever in your district collecting garbage. It can't be easy, and I don't think that these people should have had to resort to begging the state just to give them proper compensation for the work that we do. We can't call them essential. We can't clap for them, and we can't pay thousands of dollars to run ads and commercials and prints in newspapers for them, and then turn around and treat the same people with disrespect by not paying them what they rightfully deserve for the service that they provide.
Very true. Very, very true. I would have to agree with that. And again, sanitation workers, that is an extremely important portfolio to hold. It's they again should be some of the top paid people in Trinidad, because it's sanitation, that is cleanliness, it's hygiene, it's keeping the areas and communities and whatnot on par where cleanliness is concerned, and being aware of it. Pay the people and them good. Pay them good. Pay them good. Have boy, I don't even know now, boy. Teachers is another one that's supposed to be paid extremely well. They are supposed to be the ones driving around with Benz and Beamers and all of that, man. Even the sanitation workers as well. I would say yes, they should be driving around in Benz and Beamers too, because with let 1 week pass without picking up any garbage and see what take place in the place. See what go on in the place and see what kind of risk the whole population is going to be under in an environment like that. Huh? You want to pay the people and them $18 an hour a day extra? What is that going to do for them? In half of them cases, there's not enough money for them to get back and forth from home to work and back. Not enough money. But that's supposed to do something big for them. Ooh, yay! And that is what the state thinks of our citizens. They do not believe our citizens have real worth. Is why they always want to throw us crumbs, and we must be okay with it. Is why they must insist that the people are not educated, they are not critical thinkers. They have to be insistent as to getting the handout of the free fish versus getting the class as to how to fish. That is the problem right there. That is the society that we have created, and we talk about the citizenry is dependent. That is what we created for the last 57 years. We have not created independent people, people who are empowered, and people
I
who
like
are
what you just
strengthened with.
said.
But it's the truth. It's the truth.
It is.
That is what we have as a society in Trinidad and Tobago. You have a line drawn in the sand where you have, and you make great points with previous shows pertaining towards in Mucurapo, you have Mucurapo Secondary, and across the road you have Fatima College. How is it you have children coming out with honors under the same curriculum, being taught the same thing in Fatima, but you have a greater failing body of students coming out of Mucurapo Secondary? How is that? Same funding, same money spending, same curriculum. How it is you have an institution with a division of a tarmac, a road between them, and you have one prestigious having honors coming out, almost all of them, and then you have another one across the road. You're having a large portion of the student body failing the system, barely passing, getting one or two passes, trees, and all them kind of thing. I mean, really and truly, we have an existing problem that we must be able to identify and deal with directly. Where our education is concerned, and we said it earlier on in the show today, we have to change the way that we are teaching. We have to insist on a yearly and an annual basis our teachers are trained with new technologies, new techniques, new procedures, new ways in dispensing information to young people, as well as the way young people are assimilating information. How are they getting that information? How are they being taught that information? That has to change. That has to develop. There are better and more efficient ways for us to educate our population. It's just a matter of implementation, proper training, having it there to put out into the public for everyone to have access to it, to be affected by it, to learn from it. We just have a stupid population, and that is what was the status quo over the years, over the decades. And that was simply to ensure the government of the day, out of the 11 administrations passing through the shores of that parliament, from the time our red, white, and black went up to present day, all of them in their mind thought to themselves, ensure that the population is stupid, so we are able to do what the heck we want to do without anybody asking any questions. They didn't expect a progressive empowerment party in this time in our history. They didn't expect for critical minds to actually come together and put differences aside and to have the same agenda in moving forward and bringing betterment to the people. They didn't anticipate that. They didn't anticipate that. They didn't expect that. They believed that the PEP would have broken apart years ago. They believe that we would not have made the type of dent and influence that we have over the last 3 years in society in itself. They underestimated the Progressive Empowerment Party, and that's good. That's good. They're playing catch up now, but at the end of the day, we still have to bring the awareness of the population, and we still have to open the minds of the people because they are brainwashed after 57 years of having that drilled in their minds, having generations born, literally born into this environment where they knows nothing different, they knows nothing better. They know as they come out the womb and they come to the time that they had to go and get a license, they had to pay a man a 500 under the table for he to get a license. Everybody buying the license. That's a new thing now. It's a new piece of money making for the state and the fellas in the license office, and it's something that is a status quo for the citizen to have to deal with, having to go and get your license. That is the reality we live in. And we can't be ignorant and play we sweeping that under the carpet. We cannot. We cannot do this anymore. We have to hold the bull by its horns and deal with the situation as is. Yes, there are people that we know that is all interconnected. Trinidad is a small place. If we do a proper audit, and yes, names are going to call, entities and business bodies are going to call. Why? Because they've had underhanded dealings along the line in the length and breadth of our independence. Yes, but again, like I said earlier in the show, we are not to go and try to tackle the small man on the ground. That's what we've been doing. We need to go all the way to the top and deal with it from there. And as we come down the line, you will realize everything else underneath will fall in line. And that's a fact. Because if the same Trinidadian could jump on Caribbean Airlines and know the laws of America or England or Canada or wherever it is he's going to, and know how to step off that plane before he even come off, he could talk Yankee and he could deal with the laws as the way it's supposed to be dealt with. Implement it here. Give the people that here real accountability, real transparency, and real responsibility for one portfolio or one's office that they hold. And you will see the people will have to deal with what it is being presented to them for them to do the right thing at this point. Some man know you going and get locked up if you throw a KFC box outside the window. You think they'll go do it still? They know they'll go get locked up when they're in America or England or Canada. But we have a society that is anybody do what the hell they want to do, however they want to do it. Like Philip saying, is do what the hell you like, land. That have to stop. That have to change. That is where the evolution
Anthony,
has to take place.
I have to cut your rants because we are completely out of time. So let us count that as your wrap up for the day. I wanted to insert some stuff, but I'll do it really quickly. We have PEP masks on sale, a new order of mask, black mask. If you want pink, as we have with the logo in pink. If you're a female and you would like to get one of those, please reach out to our merchandise team. You can send me a message, 769-4590. For the next show, I'm going to make sure that we have the contact numbers of our finance team up on the screen for you to see, because we have people in Central, South, East, and the North, and they are around and available to facilitate your request for merchandise or to make a donation, etc. Also, I want to mention our overseas teams, and starting from tomorrow, I do want to introduce a 15-minute segment with our overseas teams, because we have a team that is responsible for PEP USA, which is Denise Xavier. She's based in New York and she's managing a very vibrant New York team over there. I did not see her any live this morning, but she's normally there commenting. She's probably watching in silence. Good morning to you, Denise. We also have Anthony Sinanan, who is in charge, together with his wife, June Sinanan, of PEP Canada. They're based in Toronto and they're doing really amazing work. I don't know why the word that I wanted to say just flew out of my head, but they're doing really amazing work there in Canada right now, building a very strong PEP Canada team. If you would like to join either of those teams, like I said, I'm going to have the numbers up for you tomorrow to reach out to them. A lot of people message me after the program wanting to come on board. Some of them are based overseas. Just letting you know where you can direct your requests. You can sign up for membership, purchase merchandise, anything that you can do here in Trinidad. Make a donation if you're based overseas. You also have a new European chapter, PEP UK, which is getting its feet up and ready for and in time for an election. What we find, we have a lot of Trinbagonians based abroad who still have their navel strings buried very deep here in Trinidad and Tobago, and they want a better country, not just for themselves to come home and retire, but for their grandchildren and their family that they left back here in Trinidad, who they think deserve a better country, who they think deserve the same kind of lifestyle that they have overseas. We can have that here as well. They're committed to helping us build such a country, and that's why we have them on board. That's why we are building this movement, not just here in Trinidad and Tobago, but in the wider diaspora. There are Trinis all over the world, and those who want a better country, best believe they are invested in and here with us in the PP. I would like to thank you all for joining me today. Thank you, Anthony, for being a part of this discussion this morning. Tomorrow we will be joined by a brand new co-host. I will let you know by tomorrow because I'm not exactly sure who is joining us. I had a little conflict with schedule with my intended guest, but tomorrow we will be back here at 8 a.m. to bring you another very informative episode of Pep Talk Morning. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead. Stay safe and remember, let's stay together by staying apart. Bye bye.